Chapter 1. Whispers in the Past. Sophie Anderson, a tenacious young student with a sharp intellect and a fierce desire for knowledge. Her fiery red hair mirrored her fierce determination to challenge established beliefs. Her gray eyes sparkled with intelligence, always searching for hidden truths. She possessed a subtle charm, blending confidence with a touch of humility, making her ideas all the more compelling. Leaned forward in her seat. She had an idea that went against the grain of conventional understanding about ancient civilizations. Dr. Whitmore, she said with enthusiasm, what if our view of history is missing a vital piece? What if there were two species of high intelligence evolving concurrently, each with their own advancements? Dr. Dale J. Whitmore, a distinguished archaeologist known for his conservative stance, looked intrigued but cautious. He projected an image of the ancient Antikythera mechanism, an intricate clockwork mechanism from ancient Greece, onto the screen. Sophie, we do have marvels like the Antikythera mechanism, a remarkable piece of engineering. However, attributing it to another species might be stretching the evidence. Sophie maintained her resolve. But what about other artifacts that mainstream archaeology just ignores because the complexities surpassed our capabilities as a species, including the Antikythera mechanism? Dr. Whitmore hesitated, grappling with the possibilities. I will agree archaeologists skip over some hard-to-explain artifacts, but assuming the capabilities of an ancient civilization without proof otherwise would also be an error. Sophie, undeterred, brought forth a compelling argument. Take the London hammer found in Texas, for instance, she urged. Its metallurgical composition far exceeds anything we manufacture today. Coupled with a partially fossilized hammer handle, its age challenges our historical timeline. Dr. Whitmore, though cautious, saw the merit in her observations. You propose two potential scenarios, he noted. A catastrophic event could have annihilated an advanced ancient civilization, leaving no significant traces. Alternatively, another species could have evolved ahead of us, possessing superior technology. Sophie nodded, her excitement growing. Precisely, the evidence of ancient knowledge and capabilities hidden within these artifacts hints at a past lost to us. What if our history is not a linear progression but a complex tapestry of overlapping civilizations? Intrigued by her logic, and not wanting to discourage an open mind, Dr. Whitmore encouraged her to continue. Present your case, Sophie. Let's explore this hypothesis further. She began to lay out her case, meticulously presenting each piece of evidence. She spoke of ancient artifacts like the Baghdad battery, suggesting a level of understanding of electricity that defied conventional timelines. The Saqqara bird, with its aerodynamic shape, hinted at knowledge that seemed out of place in ancient Egypt. Sophie delved deeper into the mysteries, elaborating on anomalies like dichromatic glass found in ancient Greece, hinting at advanced knowledge of optics and nanotechnology. She questioned the lack of evidence surrounding the construction of the pyramids by the Egyptians, a civilization seemingly behind in metallurgical advancements. The Egyptians were more Bronze Age, yet we believe they built these monumental structures, Sophie pointed out. But there's a disconnect in their capabilities compared to the scale and precision of the pyramids. Could there be a missing piece, an advanced civilization that assisted or even built them? Dr. Whitmore considered her points carefully. You raise valid questions, he acknowledged. The mysteries of history are multifaceted, and sometimes what we see is merely the tip of the iceberg. After ending class, Dr. Whitmore continued with his day, engaging in academic discussions with colleagues. Later, while alone in his study at home, a letter arrived, inviting him to Canada for an archaeological dig. The find was described as leaps and bounds beyond our historical understanding. Dr. Whitmore thought to himself, what is going on today? Everyone thinks they're going to change history. In any event, he was intrigued by the invitation. Dr. Whitmore decided to accept the offer, setting in motion a chain of events that would unravel the fabric of what he knew about the past. Dr. Dale J. Whitmore, a man in his late 40s, was a seasoned archaeologist. Years of globetrotting in search of history had left him with a wealth of knowledge and experiences. His face bore the lines of countless expeditions and hours spent in dusty archives. He had never married, his dedication to his work taking precedence over personal pursuits. As he packed for the trip to Canada, he pondered the description of the archaeological find described by his colleague, Steve Anderson. The term leaps and bounds beyond our historical understanding intrigued him. Was it an exaggeration? Or was this discovery truly revolutionary? Recalling the conversation with Sophie, he considered the opportunity to realign her brilliant mind with mainstream historical concepts and bring her along for some field experience. She was a beautiful young woman, no doubt, but Dr. Whitmore was no womanizer. He saw in her potential, A chance to bridge the gap between unorthodox theories and conventional academia. Intrigued by the possibilities, he called for his assistant. "Find Sophie Anderson," he instructed. "Present her with the opportunity to join me on an archaeological dig. It aligns with her interests and might provide valuable field experience." After meticulously packing, ensuring he had all the necessary gear for the archaeological expedition in Canada, Dr. Whitmore found himself with a few spare moments. He decided to delve further into the concepts presented by Sophie, exploring the idea of advanced out-of-place technology found throughout history. Hours slipped by as he immersed himself in research. He read about ancient structures that seemed beyond the capabilities of their supposed builders, artifacts suggesting a level of technology incongruent with the era of their origin. As he dived into Sophie's hypothesis of a secondary species potentially responsible for these advancements, he found himself both intrigued and challenged by the concept. He decided to continue humoring this idea even with all of its flaws. At the very least, it was a good use of time waiting to hear back from her. Dr. Whitmore, in pursuit of this fun train of thought and guided by curiosity, delved into the rich tapestry of global folklore. He sought myths and legends that described anything that could be a secondary species that could have coexist along with us. Investigating universal myths from different cultures, he stumbled upon those describing a distinct species resembling Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yowie, or the Yeti. Even the name Yowie and Yeti seemed too close to be coincidence. From the towering mountains of the Himalayas to the dense forests of North America, he discovered a vast array of tales. In the Himalayan region, the Yeti was described as a towering, ape-like creature, feared yet revered by the locals. In Australia, the Yowie was said to roam the rugged outback, a mysterious and elusive being but also feared. He found consistent themes. These beings were often depicted as elusive, reclusive, and possessing a deep affinity with nature. They were guardians of the wild, feared and respected in equal measure. Intrigued, Dr. Whitmore began drawing connections between these seemingly universal myths similar to the Great Flood. Despite the vast distances and cultural differences, the similarities in descriptions were striking. Could this be more than mere coincidence? Could these myths be fragments of a shared human experience, shaped by encounters with a species beyond our understanding? The myths Dr. Whitmore delved into painted vivid pictures of enigmatic creatures. In the dense forests of North America, Sasquatch was a towering figure, often described as covered in dark, matted fur, possessing an otherworldly strength and elusiveness. Witnesses spoke of fleeting glimpses and eerie howls that sent shivers down their spines. Across the world, in the heart of Central Asia, the Almas was whispered about among nomadic tribes. Descriptions ranged from a shy, human-like figure to a more ape-like being. The Almas was said to share an uncanny resemblance to early humans, adding to its mystique. In Australia, the Yowie, a creature of the vast outback, was often depicted as a creature towering above 6 feet, covered in hair, and possessing a haunting gaze. Indigenous folklore told stories of encounters and an unwavering belief in it. Dr. Whitmore couldn't help but ponder the shared threads among these tales. Could these myths, scattered across the globe, allude to a common experience with a hidden species? As he continued reading, an idea crystallized in his mind. These legends might not be mere fables. They could be rooted in encounters with a species that had learned to stay hidden, leaving behind a trail of myths, whispered through generations. Maybe there's some merit to her argument. As a knock echoed through his quiet study, Dr. Whitmore set aside his research. He opened the door to find Sophie standing there, having accepted the invitation to join the archaeological dig. Excitement and gratitude surged within him. "Fantastic news," he exclaimed, a smile lighting up his face. Sophie beamed back at him. "Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Whitmore. I'm eager to learn and contribute." Feeling a sense of camaraderie and realizing the time, Dr. Whitmore decided to invite her for dinner. Over a meal, they discussed her hypothesis about the secondary species. Sophie passionately explained her ideas. Once she was done, Dr. Whitmore let her know of his research that afternoon, on a shared common myth, describing what could possibly be a different species. "What I have found is that there is a description in mythology from around the world that describes a species different from us, Sasquatch. Bigfoot really, Dr. Whitmore, please don't insult me. Sasquatch is often depicted as a creature with no more technology than gorillas," she emphasized, unsure of how this fit her theory. Dr. Whitmore considered his words carefully before responding. If you're going to think outside the box, you can't just peek through a hole, you have to step outside of it and remain open to all possibilities. Imagine this, you're more advanced than a primitive civilization that thinks it's superior to all species. Is it easier to let them believe you are a primitive wild animal to be left alone, or a threat to the idea of your superiority? Sophie's eyes widened as the realization dawned on her. You'd want them to think you were a primitive, nothing more than a myth, a creature of folklore, not a hidden civilization to rival them. Dr. Whitmore nodded, confirming her realization. Precisely. It's a clever strategy for survival. If nothing else, it's a fun path of thought to stay open to all ideas, no matter how preposterous they seem from the inside of the box, as he lightly chuckled. If you like this content, or any of my other content, please hit the like button and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave comments below. Thank you for your support and listening.